Welcome back to my school bus conversion project. It's been a long time since my last video. This is mainly due to being laid off a year ago and running out of money to continue working on the project. Now that I have a new job, I've been able to resume it, so hopefully videos should be somewhat frequent again. Last year I did have the first proper test of the bus as a mobile workshop. I was contracted to do some mechanical work about 300 miles away in Philadelphia. I packed up and prepared to drive the bus there, only to discover immediately that the bus had no brakes anymore. With no way to drive it safely to a truck repair shop, I had to have it towed. This was an interesting process. They had a very big tow truck, which was basically built on a semi-truck, with which they lifted the back wheels off the ground. After towing it to the repair shop, they determined that one of my brake lines had rusted through and all the brake fluid had leaked out. To be on the safe side, they replaced all 4 brake lines with new ones, and then I was ready for the long trip. I almost made it, too. About 5 miles from my destination, one of the tires exploded, most likely from being underpressurized and overheating. I checked the tire pressure on the other 5 tires and discovered that they were all pretty low. I suppose this is my fault for never having checked the tire pressures since I bought the bus. Anyway, I took it to a tire repair center which specialized in trucks, and they replaced it in about 10 minutes. After this, I bought and installed a tire pressure monitoring system so I would be alerted before something like this happened again. While I was in Philadelphia, I installed a louvered ventilation fan behind the welding table. This should prevent welding fumes and argon from building up in the workshop section. The project I was working on in Philadelphia was an electric carriage. I'm not currently able to share video of actually working on it, but here's the finished product which we drove in the 4th of July parade.
Mark School, they're running the city from the E-Carriage.
First E-Carriage ever in Philadelphia. Tour is coming soon.
After I finished working on the carriage, I drove the bus back, and then I wasn't able to do much on it until the winter. The first thing I wanted to do was install electric heated flooring. This was supposed to be the main focus of this video, but I accidentally deleted almost all the footage of it. I installed a thermostat for it on the sidewall. It has more features than I really want, but this is apparently the simplest thermostat you can buy off the shelf these days. And taking a look with a thermal camera, we can clearly see how the floor is being warmed by the carbon film underneath it. And it's a lot warmer than the stairwell, which is quite cold. It's not as warm as the radiator, obviously, or the output from the mini split, but it's still doing quite a lot to warm the room, and it is very pleasant to walk on. Ducking under the bed every time that I had to enter the bus was getting really old. So I changed it over to be a Murphy bed that folds up along this side wall. The width of the bed is sort of dictated by the bottom of it having to sit on this little lip in the wall when it folds down. So that supports the left side. And I'm going to make a pair of legs for it to sit on, but in the meantime, right now I just have it sit on a pair of paint cans until I make the legs. It folds up and fits just perfectly underneath the bottom of the mini split. I would have liked it if there was a little bit more clearance there to give the air a bit more room to spread out as it enters the room. But unfortunately, that's pretty much dictated by the size of the mattress, so I can't really do anything about that. It's held up by a rubber strap which connects to this hook on the wall. The hook is rated for 600 pounds, so that's not going anywhere, and it's bolted directly into this stud. I'm not sure whether I like this solution. It's a little bit springy, which might be good or might be bad. I'll have to see when I drive with this, but I might replace it with a rigid hook that just hooks into a loop in the wall. Still deciding that. I also embarked on a project to flip the door on my fridge. The door originally opened to the left, which made it a real pain to access things in the fridge. Unfortunately, unlike larger refrigerators, this door is not built to be reversible. There were two models of this fridge, one opening to the left and one to the right. However, it is out of production, and I can't get the parts from a right-hand model, so I had to modify mine. The parts aren't symmetric, so I had to rebuild some of them, like this pivot bracket, which I cut apart and re-welded. The fridge is now in a sort of weird halfway state, where I've got all the stuff off of the one side, but isn't yet on the other. This pin at the bottom of the door is upside down right now, was over here and mounted in those bolts, or in those holes. So I can drill 2 holes in here. That's not a problem. The issue is this little tab on the side, and that's meant to stop the door from opening too far. But on the mount over here, if I put the tab into there, it's going to prevent the door from fully closing. So since the door isn't going to be able to open too far anyway, because there will be a cabinet in the way, I think I'm just going to cut that little tab off. Here's the little bracket that I welded up earlier. So that is going to mount on here now. And you can see where it formerly mounted over here. I found a couple of these little plastic inserts that can block the holes, but there were only 2 of them on this side, so I moved them over here. I don't know where to get those, but if I can find them somewhere, then I'll have to get some more so I can fill up the holes that'll be made by removing the screws that held on the door handle. Okay, I've trimmed off that little flange and moved this over to the other side of the door. So now the door can sit in that. And we've got the first steps of the door opening the other way. Of course, we still need to attach the piece at the top and move this to the other side so that it has somewhere to hold into, but it's coming along pretty well. Well, it turns out that that's actually made out of plastic that's just been coated with something metallic. So trying to pry it out of there, it's press fit in there and it breaks rather than coming out. So I'm just going to have to make my own bushing for the other side. I made up this little bushing out of 2 pieces of brass soldered together, and that goes in this corner here. And now I've got the hinge screwed on to the right side of the door frame. And now I've transferred the handle to the other side. I had to relocate these screws in here. It does still leave the original holes on the other side, but since that gets covered up with the door lining, that doesn't really matter. I've adjusted it a little bit, and I have reinstalled the inner door seal, and now I have a door that opens to the other side. Hooray! I still need to do something about the old holes in the door here and in the frame. So I'm going to see if I can find more of these little covering plastic things, but I don't know what they're called, so it's kind of hard to find them. But I'll have a look for those and see if I can do something to patch those up. But in the meantime, I think it's looking pretty good. And now the fridge is on and working, with a door that opens to the other side. And that's all I've got for this video. See you next time.